the earth's gift to Haiti. And so he was just like, I got a call from God. Please tell me where that phone line is, because I've been trying to have a direct access like you swear you have. It's actually humiliating, and a lot of people are really upset at the fact that you really thought that you could come down here and take over Haiti like this. You done killed the president. And so what's being said from Haitian friends, I don't know this to be true. This is just what I'm hearing. And if you have other reports, please send them my way, because I definitely want to continue having these conversations. The conversation that I heard was that the previous Haitian president was not liked nor respected. And he had an America agenda that was not for the Haitian people. And so this man thought that the mastermind of the Haiti plot said that he had been sent by God to restore the power to the Haitian people, instead of America coming in and thinking that they are the end all be all and the solution to Haiti's problems. And so Christian Emmanuel Sasson, we talked about him yesterday, 63 years old, a Floridian doctor and a pastor, is accused of being the mastermind behind the assassination of Haiti's president. Sasson told Haitian professor Michael Plancher last month it was God's mission for him to replace Moise as the leader of the Caribbean country. Another associate said that the U.S. supported the plot for him to take over, and that is why there were so many FBI informants involved, CIA informants involved, because it wasn't just him himself. He had the backings of the United States of America. And so he didn't think that he was just going to walk in and be president. He knew he was going to be the president. And had this not something along the lines went terribly wrong, and now the United States is going to recuse themselves and say, we had no parts in this. Whatever they did is what they did. We know nothing. But the truth of the matter is, when you take a look at this, when you look at the facts at hand, I don't care if you are a conspiracy theorist or not, just looking at the facts at hand, this is extremely questionable. And knowing the history that we have with Haiti, the United States government has with Haiti, and what we've stolen from them and what we've robbed them of and what we continue as the world put Haiti through, non-conspiracy theorist version is a lot worse than the conspiracy version. So we do need to take a look at what we've done in the past and how we've conducted ourselves, and ask ourselves some really hard questions when it comes to our government that we also trust so much. The Sasson said he was approached by people claiming to represent the U.S. state and justice departments who wanted to install him as president. The plan was only for Moise to be arrested and not killed. And because he was killed, that's why the plan was foiled. And now he is being touted the mastermind. He's going to take the complete fall for it. He's going to end up in jail. They're going to tote him all types of crazy, insane, deranged. But he is coming. He's like, listen, the United States Justice Department and those that represent the U.S. state wanted to install me. So I say all that to say, y'all keep trusting this government that claim to love you, that don't even like you. Okay. Janet said, hey, intern. What is the intern's name, actually? Christian. Christian is the intern. Christian's voice is deep as hell, yo. He sounds like an 82-year-old man over here. Do not come to the USA. Biden's DHS Secretary, Department of Homeland Security, warns Cubans and Haitians they will not be allowed in the United States if they flee what's going on in their current country. So as far as Cubans are concerned, you know, they are completely up in arms in what's going on as far as they said that they're being choked, there's sanctions, they're not getting the food that they need. They're also not getting the allowance that their government gives them. I believe we talked to Uncle Timmy on air about a month ago, and he was like, it's 25. It's equivalent to 25 American dollars that they get per month that's supposed to sustain them. Like that's what you're supposed to eat off of. That's what you're supposed to pay your bills off of, your entertainment, all of that. $25 a month equivalent in America. And it was, from what I understand, from what Uncle Timmy told us. And so Uncle Timmy is my real uncle. He's actually my mother's cousin, but because of the age, he's Uncle Timmy. And he is a mercenary. He goes to Cuba on a regular basis for missionary purposes. And so he literally has boots on the ground on what's going on in Cuba. And it's just like this has been an uphill battle for them. Like they've wanted their independence for years. They wanted their freedom. They were kind of like coaxed into and really bamboozled into the authoritarian government that they currently have now. And Cubans are ready to leave. They're ready to go. And there's actually a rule in Florida that if you can stand up in the water, they can't arrest you. Now, if you still swimming and they get you, they can send you back. But if you could stand up in the water, you are now on American soil. There's nothing that they can do to you. And so Cubans are trying to come over. Haitians are trying to come over because we've been talking about this for a couple of weeks now about what's going on in Haiti, even prior to the president being assassinated, the chaos that has been taking place in Haiti, the fact that parliament has not been working or operable for the last year during COVID. And they don't even know who the head of president is right now. There's 3 different individuals claiming to be in power for Haiti. And so the Department of Homeland Security is like, listen, whatever's going on in your country, stay in your country because you are not invited here. And we will absolutely take you and bring you back to wherever it is you came from. And so he said the voyage is too dangerous and they will not be allowed to enter. Let me be clear. If you take to the sea, you will not come to the United States. And we'll see how this plays out because somebody going to be able to stand up in Florida. I don't know who, but it's going to be somebody. Boeing cuts productions of the 787 Dreamliner after yet another problem. We read about this problem that came out about 3 months ago, and they were like, listen, we need to figure out what's going on. Let's break this down a little bit. We'll slow down production. And now production went from slowing down to be completely halted. The fuelage isn't joined together to meet precise standards. And so Boeing announced on Tuesday that it will cut the production of the 787 airline because the assembly of the fuelage goes against the Federal Aviation Administration standards. CEO David Calhoun said last month that the company hoped to deliver nearly all of the 100 available 787 planes, but now he anticipates delivering less than half. The Federal Aviation Administration, the FAA, said the issue is that the components of the plane are not properly connected. After the company's announcement, the shares dropped by 2%, aka this is a sale because Boeing is not going anywhere. You want to think about long-term investments. And so this is a sale down 2%. Get 2% off some Nikes. Y'all willing to do it? 2% off some stock. What you doing? Good rising, Mike. Nice. How you feeling? Boeing has had to ground its plane for similar reasons in September of 2020 and again in May. And so do what you got to do, baby. Do your due diligence and figure out what you about to put that money into because the stock is out there. The wobble from the moon's orbit could cause every U.S. coast to experience a surge in flooding in the next 10 years. And so this is NASA. If you remember, NASA was originally for the ocean. So before going into outer space, NASA was intern, Christian. How are you? Let's put Christian to work. Christian, what was NASA's acronym when it was for the ocean use? You don't have to think about it. Just Google it. Okay, so while he does that, we're going to go ahead and continue with the story. By the next decade, the U.S. coast will see a rapid increase in high tide flooding caused by global warming, made worse by the moon's pull on different tides. You're wonderful, Mike Nice. I'm glad. Peace and blessings to you and everyone who is tuned in today. Only northern coastlines, including Alaska's, will be spared from the next cycle. The regular wobble in the moon's orbit takes 18.6 years to complete. The wobble's effect on the moon's gravitational pull is combining with rising sea levels to cause a leap in flood numbers. In the next cycle, global sea levels will rise and continue to result in a leap in flood numbers in almost all U.S. mainland coastlines, including Hawaii and Guam. Researchers looked 89 tide gauge locations in all U.S. coastal areas and projected out to 2080. Floods may occur in clusters as well, lasting perhaps as long as a month, depending on the position of the moon, earth, and sun. And so I say all of that to remind you that we are 75 to 80% water, your entire body. If the moon has enough, and some people call it a spaceship, we go and call it what it is, the moon. And so if the moon has that much control to control the ocean, I don't understand why we as Americans are so far removed from the astrology and understanding how the moon cycles directly affect us as humans, knowing that we are 75% water. Even if we were 25% water, the amount of control that the moon has over us, we never acknowledge it. It's not something that you are raised into. It's something that you have to learn and find out as an adult instead of, and I personally, when my children, I'm like, yo, look at the moon cycle and see where we are. How is the moon cycle affecting who you are? Let's go ahead and get our journals on for the full moon, for the new moon, for the quarter moon. Let's do it. And so I say that to say it may be something that you want to take a look into. Just to be mindful of, why do I feel this way right now? I don't know. Look at the moon cycle. That might have something to do with it. Christian, you found anything?
Was it NACA with the season of S?
Let me see what you found. Share with me. Let me see what you found.
It says before NASA, it said it was National Advisory Committee for. I don't know how to say this word.
Let me see. Mm-hmm.
That's what I found.
Before NASA, there was NACA, the National Advisory Committee for Aeronautics. It was formed on March 3rd, 1915, with a charter to supervise and direct the scientific study of the problems of flight with a view of the practical solutions, with luminaries like Orville Wright as members of the group. And it was in the cutting edge technology. NASA has observed the oceans from space for more than 20 years. NASA launched CSET, the first civilian oceanographic satellite. In 1978, the satellite carried 5 complementary sensors designed to monitor the oceans from space. Why did NASA go from space to from ocean to space? Improving the performance of aeronautical and space vehicles, developing. You know what we're going to do? Advanced research projects agencies. The ARPA was created in February 1958 to develop space technology for military application. Eisenhower signed the National Aeronautic and Space Act, which established NASA in 1958. And so I will continue to go down this rabbit hole. Yes, I will continue to go down that rabbit hole. So before it was NASA, it was NACA. And not his voice deep as hell. I told you, Janet, all you hear is bass. What did you just say? But he's saying in words, I promise you he is. Johnson & Johnson and AstraZeneca are studying whether modifying their COVID-19 vaccines can reduce or eliminate the rare risk of blood clotting. Remember, I told you Tanzania told the World Health Organization, we don't want the AstraZeneca, and so did Haiti. When Haiti's president was alive, they went ahead and said, nah, we don't want that. We already have been Y'all concerned, we ain't finna put that in our people's bodies. Yes, least we see 2 of those presidents is dead right now. One was killed in March and the other one was just killed in Haiti. And so Tanzania's president was murdered after he told the World Health Organization that he did not want the AstraZeneca. And so you call me a conspiracy theorist all you want. These are facts. Do your due diligence for yourself. These is facts. Both shots have been linked to a risk of blood clots along with a low platelet count condition known as thrombocytopenia. We gonna do that thing where we get it right. Pronunciation. Y'all ready?
Thrombocytopenia. Thrombocytopenia.
Thrombocytopenia. That is a long.
Thrombocytopenia.
Yeah, that one. And so, the scientists hope to identify the causes behind the blood clot and maybe re-engineer the shots by next year. In the U.S., Johnson & Johnson's vaccine has been linked to 0.3 cases of rare blood clots per 100,000 doses, and AstraZeneca's jab is linked to 1 to 2 cases per every 100,000. How are you with math?
I would say I was good before my school started.
Okay, so what is 0.3% of 100,000? You have a whole computer in your hand. I don't know why you're staring into space. While he gets that up and running on, last thing, this comes one day after it was revealed that the FDA is adding a new warning to the label of Johnson & Johnson's vaccine due to the risk of the rare autoimmune disorder. And so, and those were the reasons why, along with the fact that the AstraZeneca is difficult to keep. You have to keep it a certain temperature. It expires quickly and easily, and so that was another reason. It wasn't just because of the side effects; it was also because of how the storage is concerned. Janet said, "Christian, do 0.003 times 100,000, and you'll get the answer."
Thank you.
He said, "Thank you." Thank you, Janet. Lord have mercy. Trump wanted to execute a staffer who leaked the story of him staying in the White House bunker during the Black Lives Matter protests in D.C. The former President Donald Trump wanted to execute the staffer. I don't know if y'all are paying attention to all of the stories that I read regarding Donald Trump when he was president and how, like, what has come into fruition from these books that talk about it. Like, he was out here trying to murder mad people. Because remember, who was it? It was the Department of Homeland Security. It was it was like a secretary of the military. Like, he was out here trying to put hits on everybody. And so former Donald Trump wanted to execute the staffer who leaked to the press that he had been taken to the White House bunker in the Black Lives Matter protest. Whoever did that, they should be charged with treason, he yelled during a meeting. They should be executed. The Wall Street Journal reporter Michael Bender detailed the incident in his new book, Frankly, We Did Win the Election, the inside story of how Trump lost. Trump tasked his chief of staff, Mark Meadows, to hunt down the leaker and remained angry about it for days. The president also tried to downplay the incident, saying, "I was there for a tiny short time period of a time." Yo, I swear, that's what I read. That's what he said. That's what I read. Saying he was there for more than he was just there for like a little inspection. It had nothing to do with the Black Lives Matter. A humiliated Seattle doctor claims that Mesa flight attendant put her on a no-fly list because she disposed of her daughter's dirty diaper in the restroom. Her name is Farah Naz Khan. She's 34 years old. And she was traveling on a United Airlines flight operated by Mesa Airlines with her husband and her daughter, who is under the age of 2. On Friday, and about halfway through the flight, she said she threw out her daughter's dirty diaper in a scented bag, as she had done on previous flights. On her way back to her seat, she said the flight attendant accosted her and said throwing out dirty diapers in a plane is biohazardous. He allegedly called her after the flight landed in Houston and told her she was put on the no-fly list. He also alleged that you people should just drive everywhere, prompting accusations of racism because she is a Muslim American of South Asian descent. In a statement, Mesa Airlines said the alleged behavior is not in line with their standards and they are investigating the situation. Yo, the reason why I read that is because I recently was on a flight, no, I wasn't, but Baby Rain has a diaper, and if you know anything about damn Baby Rain, them diapers is literally a biohazard. But I didn't know you could, they could just put you on the no-fly list for no reason. My parents got jokes because I was once on the no-fly list. We gonna leave that alone now. I still don't know why to this day. What's 0.3? 300? Yo, you sure?
Yeah.
0.003 of 100,000 is 300?
Yeah.
So 300 people of the Johnson & Johnson, that's crazy how they said the 0.3%, yet 1 to 2 of the AstraZeneca. Why wouldn't they just put the numbers? Jenna, is that the right number? Is that the right number? I believe him. Former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley calls for every governor in the United States to ban funding for critical race theory in schools. Her name is Nikki Haley. She urged governors in America to ban funding for critical race theory. Teaching the subject is harmful for the well-being of our children. South former Carolina governor argued it'll have long-lasting effects on children. You know what? The one thing that I have seen across the board, and I totally agree with, if our children are old enough to experience racism, yo racist ass kids is old enough to understand how their actions, words, and how they conduct themselves in these streets are harmful. Yes, it's going to have lasting effects. It has lasting effects on my little black sons and my little black daughter as well. And they live through it every single day. So you absolutely can teach your child how your racist ass, and I truly believe that if you are against critical race theory, if you're against learning how, and let's be clear, critical race theory is about, you know what, I'm not even going to go down that rabbit hole. What we're going to do is we're going to play the video of the professor who broke it down of what critical race theory is. Learning it back in the 80s, 90s, and 2000s, and educators across the board have been learning it for decades versus why all of a sudden it is a problem. I am TaylaAndre. You are tuned in to SparkFMOnline. Waking up with TaylaAndre has absolutely nothing to do with the time of day we link up at about waking up your third eye with unorthodox conversations leading to universal consciousness. We're going to pay these bills and come right back, and I'm going to play that video about what critical race theory really is.
Call Spark FM. 3387. Saturday, 5:31. Production.
This one wasn't open for you?
Get this book. Shades of Blue edition. By Q Major, Rockstar Trick, Sound International, DJ Seven, DJ Idris, DJ Alfred.
Listen, can you open this door for me, please? It's hot as hell.
Yes.
Thank you.
Boarding at 7:55 p.m. Departing at 8:30 p.m. Departing from the tickets, contact 617-719-3972 or 617-980-729 or visit number 2 together.eventbrite.com. 21 plus for guide you required. Be sure to wear your
We've made great progress in our fight against COVID-19, but it isn't over yet. There's a new layer of protection for you and your loved ones, even if you're vaccinated. It's called Mass Notify. Mass Notify can alert you of possible exposures to COVID-19 right on your smartphone. It's anonymous, safe, and secure, and your location is never tracked. Just activate Help Massachusetts for USA. Add your phone to the fight. To find out more, go to mass.gov/mass-notify. That's mass.gov/mass-notify.
Are you ready for your
I'll bring you next time.
On Saturday, July 24th, the live performances by Super Legend, Iowa George, the Hot One.
I wanted the inspection. Victoria, first appearance after 10 years.
Also performing, FreakyFriday.
July 24th, love of the Australian Viking Fetchilla. It's true fit, it's right.
Fetchilla, it's a Cuban oil party, Saturday, July 24th. Bring your coolers and come. Bring no ice, no chasers, no glass, and coolers must be in before 3 p.m. sharp. Absolutely no exception. Saturday, July 24th, at the West Indian Social Club Backyard in Hartford. Fetchilla is live, it's paid, powder, it's mud, from 12 p.m. until 11 p.m. Purchase tickets now at eventbrite.com. Also purchase at Soap and Associates Mask Out and Taurus Records on Blue Hill Avenue. Fetchilla, get your tickets now.
Hello, Black America. My name's WakeUpWithTaylaAndre. There's good news out there. There's a COVID-19 vaccine. Yay! But the bad news is, as Black folks, it is hard to know who to trust. So what do? Well, we turn to people we can trust. Black folks. I'm talking about Black scientists, Black doctors, and Black nurses. We're going to ask some questions and get some good answers. Here we go. Join the conversation about the COVID-19 vaccine at betweenusabout.us.org.
The way to protect yourself against COVID-19 is to get the vaccine. Sponsored locally by Harper Health.
Washington's new home, Spark Urban Caribbean music, SparkFM, SparkFM, playing all your favorite hits from reggae, SparkFM.
You can do damage.
Afrobeats, and much more. Spark FM.
Good rising, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. I am TaylaAndre. Let's go ahead really quickly and jump into what is critical race theory.
Because she doesn't know how to get Jonathan motivated. It seems like he's very rarely motivated to learn, and that means that he often doesn't learn. She knows as a teacher that she should be doing more to motivate him, but he's so different from her that she doesn't know what to do. Culture, or the ethnic or social group one is from, can have an impact on learning. For example, some studies have shown that African American students and European American students approach questions from the teacher differently. Because their respective cultures view questioning slightly differently, the students respond differently in the classroom. Let's look closer at one way to approach the intersection of culture and learning. Culturally responsive teaching, or CRT. Gene's not sure how to motivate Jonathan to be more engaged in class. Not only that, he thinks and reasons differently than she does. But does that mean that he's wrong? Should she try to make him think more like she does?
So this was the original, that's original. Understanding how race, that was the original, understanding how race plays a role in how, in everything. Not just how one learns, but how one is, has to navigate systems, how one has to show up in the world, how laws are engineered in order to play a role in racism, like all of that. It has nothing to do with your feelings being hurt about white people are inherently bad. That is not what critical race theory truly is. But I digressed. All governors. I wish, I was about to say Duval Patrick, but he is no longer our governor. I wish Baker would. He'll be having more people show up at his house again. Republican representative to introduce Britney Spears bill to stop healthcare providers from aiding in the conservators enforcing contraception on individuals without their consent. And if we're going to have a whole conversation and not just a part of the conversation, we have to talk about how there were so many videos of those that have like mental deficits were forced to take the vaccine and were literally, there were videos of people being dragged out of their house so brown shirts could stick them in the arm because the family said that they wanted to. I remember a friend of mine in school who was, she had Down syndrome, but I feel like there's different levels because her level of Down syndrome was fully capable. Like she was fully capable. She just had the aesthetics that she had Down syndrome. And I remember she was being forced to be put on contraceptives because her mother thought she was like, she had a boyfriend. Her mother was like, you're not having sex. You should never have kids. And made her get the, what's the shot? The Depo shot. And she didn't want it. And since then, I've always had a problem with like, just because people with Down syndrome or just like any mental ailment does not make them completely incompetent. Like I never understood why we treat. Anyways, Rep. Jason Smith is introducing legislation to stop healthcare providers from aiding enforcing contraception on individuals. It's called the Circus Act, and it's tied to Britney Spears. Britney Spears revealed in her trial last month that her team, led by her father, prevented her from having an IUD removed. Smith's legislation specifically targets healthcare providers and would prevent them from participating in numerous federal health programs. Spears, ironically, the issue has been brought before Republicans and Democrats and have brought them together. This is like the one issue where they are actually working together. Spears is back on trial in Los Angeles today. There's also a Free Britney rally at the Lincoln Memorial in DC. Everybody keeps telling me to watch has anyone seen the documentary? Everyone's like, yo, you got to see the documentary. It's crazy. Like you'll understand what they've been doing to Britney. And so I am interested. I don't have time for that type of documentary in my life. But in other news, it has been revealed that overdoses have increased nearly 30% and claimed a record number of 93,000 lives in 2000, partly driven by fentanyl on America's streets during the pandemic. And so again, those numbers are 93,331 drug overdose deaths recorded in 2020. And that's not even 2021. That's only in 2020. The overdose deaths were mainly driven by opioids, which are responsible for 74% of the 96,710 fatalities. Experts say Americans may be turning to opioids to cope with the stress factors such as job loss, death of a loved one. And if we could take this a step further, I don't know if you remember, but I read an article about how medical students are, I want to pull this up because it was more than 50% medical student survey on race. It was like over 50% of medical students who took in a survey of 222 medical students and residents, about half endorsed the false beliefs about biological differences between Blacks and whites. And those who did also perceived Blacks as feeling less pain than whites and were more likely to suggest inappropriate medical treatment for Black patients, according to a paper that was published by the National Academy of Science. Again, over 50% of these white doctors. I had a cousin that recently had a baby and gave birth to my first born like godchild. I have godchildren that as they got older wanted me to be their godmother, but this one was born into me. So my firstborn godchild, her mother is my cousin, and she's like, yo, I just had a C-section and they wouldn't give me any painkillers. They told me to take ibuprofen. And I'm like, yo, I had 2 C-sections. Ibuprofen, Tylenol, 3s ain't finna cut it. And I'm allergic. I forgot what I'm allergic to, but I couldn't take it of that family of medication. And they gave me everything wrapped around what I'm allergic to. I couldn't take it. I could not take it. And they were just like, well, we're fearful that you will become dependent on it. She said, I'm not a junkie. I just had a damn C-section. And so she is a Black woman and not, oh, Mike, you ain't know? So my Baby Rain's so my OBGYN for when I was pregnant with Baby Rain was a guest on the show about 3 or 4 months ago. And he works with Beth Israel, is currently in Tulsa, Oklahoma, working on a project where it's like community birthing and just like opening the doors for Black mothers to have like midwives and at-home births and water births and just all of the things that we truly don't have access to. I know Liz Miranda was working on a bill here in Massachusetts about being able to have access to midwives while on like, if you're on Medicaid or Medicare, aka Mass Health. And so I know that was in the works at one time. I don't know how far that bill got. But yeah, absolutely. Black women are, 73% more likely to die while giving birth than white women. It's absolutely crazy. And I actually have 3 different, if you go to YouTube, actually, if you go to TaylaAndre.com, TaylaAndre.com, and you go to everything TaylaAndre or Waking Up with TaylaAndre, there's 3 different shows, because I also did a show with a doctor who was studying at Harvard and creating an app to track maternal pains. And so what we learned in that show was women in Nigeria, where they did not have the medical everything that we have here in the United States, were less likely to die of childbirth than it was. Like, you had a higher chance in the United States of America, a developed country, than you did in an undeveloped country, aka a third world country. It's not really a third world country. They have all the resources that we want to steal. We just, if we call them poor, when we go in there to do our humanitarian work, aka stealing all their resources, it looks like we're doing a really good thing. And so you are, as a Black woman, more likely, and we know the whole story with Serena Williams, and it's more than just Serena Williams. You don't have to be a celebrity. Any and all Black women are high risk for maternal death while giving birth. You know what I would like to see? Christian's in the back, and he technically doesn't start until Monday. Janet, can you please help me with this? Because I want to know how many people died during the crack era, and whether or not it was even something that was studied or something that anybody even cared about. Because we know a lot of the opioids, since we as Black people have high pain tolerance and don't need medication, we're less likely to be prescribed opioids, period, to begin with. And so, and this is all studies. You can, do the knowledge for yourself. And so since we were less likely to be given opioids, we're less likely to be hooked on opioids, we're less likely to be on Mass Ave. And so I want to know if there was ever a time where research in science studied how many individuals died of overdoses due to crack. Like, we're over here, like, revealed nearly 30% at 93,000 in the last, since 2020. So I want to know what those numbers are, and what was the highest number of those who have overdosed or died via crack overdose. Pepper the robot keeps getting fired. The $1,790 humanoid bot has lost jobs at funeral businesses, nursing homes, and banks because people expect intelligence of a human. Pepper the robot was fired from jobs, and we know why. So he was launched in 2014 as one of the first robots to read emotions, but you don't give nobody a damn robot at a hospital, and I got all these type of ailments. And the candy striper is not a cute little thing in a skirt, but a damn robot. You don't care about my feelings. You don't have feelings. You just gave baby. Congratulations. No, like, no. Someone died. Can I console you? No. At a funeral home. How can I help you? No. Nobody wants this. Like, who thought it was a good idea anyways to bring a robot into a funeral home? Into a hospital, even at the bank. Don't nobody want you to play with their money? You sound crazy. You better put that robot to go fix Tesla's self-driving. Go find the emotions of the individuals that aren't doing well. I just want to say this really quickly because I'm thinking about Tesla and the recall that should be happening on the Teslas. Elon Musk is like, yo, be very careful. Don't fall asleep behind the wheel. We ain't perfected it yet. Until we figure it out, don't use the self-drive mode. But I also wanted to remind you that there was a study that recently came out that said that test crash dummies, like they have to advocate for test crash dummies to be a feminine, to be a female gender. So that way they can do research around what happens to a female in a car accident. So all of these years that they've been testing test crash dummies, all of them have been men. But if you remember back in the early 90s when they had like the test crash dummy commercials, and one was a girl and one was a boy. But yet they have never, that is a false narrative. They have never had a female test crash dummy to research the effects on car accidents on the female body. How effing crazy is that? Weird facts that Tayla knows is on 1,000. So moment a group of Detroit thieves bails on a carjacking because they can't drive stick. There's nothing else to the story. I just thought it was hilarious. Yo ass was over here trying to steal a damn car. You don't know enough about cars to know what standard looks like? Sounds like? What up, Christian? Christian, come say hi. This the one with the deep ass voice. Come on, put it on your lip.
I'm Christian, the intern.
I'm Christian, the intern. Come on, Christian, put it a little closer so they can hear you. You're Christian. What grade are you?
I'm going to 10th grade. I'm 15. Yeah.
I want to know where you got that voice box from. Your daddy got a deep voice?
No.
Your granddaddy?
He sound old.
That is not.
Because old people be having deeper voices, like naturally.
Natural, but where'd yours come from?
I don't know. It just happened one day. I don't know.
And you're still growing, so this ain't even really your bass voice.
Like my parents, my mom be making fun of me. She be trying to make jokes.
Like what? What your mother be saying?
You trying to sound like me.
How'd you try to sound like me? Y'all leave Christian alone. That's Christian, the intern. Christian, let me put you to work. See if you can find if there was any research done during the crack era. And so I just read a story about how many people have died because of the opioid issue. And we know opioids are primarily white people dying of overdoses. So I want to know if there was ever a study done on Black people overdosing on crack. Okay. That may take a minute. What up, Janet? Oh, Janet was looking for that too. She says she can't find a quick enough answer regarding the crack epidemic. Taylor, you need to ask him about a curl pattern. You know your curl pattern?
I don't know.
He don't know the curl pattern. His curl pattern's beautiful though. He look like he ain't got no product in it either with all this fullness.
No, right now.
Not right now?
Nah,
what products do you use?
I gotta show you at my house.
Okay, we ain't gonna say that because they don't pay us. Technically, though, none of them pay us, so we ain't finna name nobody's name. But I think it's absolutely hilarious. There was a 2006 blue Acura TSX, and on June 28th, they try to rob. So they're doing like ridiculous carjackings. You would have thought it was LA back in the 80s, 90s, the way these boys is carjacking in Detroit. And so it was a stick. So I absolutely would get a bumper stick and say my car's a stick and see how many times I don't get jacked because your asses can't drive a damn standard. I think one of the sexiest, so a study found that only 18% of Americans can drive stick. 18%, baby, over here. And so first and foremost, I think there are three things that are more sexier than ever. Okay. First and foremost, being able to drive a stick. Second of all, having your gun license. And third of all, driving a motorcycle. Lord have mercy. The draws just fall off. I'm not even talking about me. I'm just talking like as far as females are concerned, we love a man who can drive stick, a man who got his gun license, and a man who can ride a motorcycle. You got those three, you could have a lot of other flaws. And we will oversee them. Really, what time? Oh, shoot, the time really be flying. Hold on. Let's run through these. So the mayor of Miami says that Biden should consider an airstrike on Cuba in support of Havana's dissent as anti-communist protesters in the U.S. shut down Miami freeway, and Russia and China warn, do not interfere, Biden. And Biden's minions are saying, listen, he don't even do well with conflict resolution. Like, Biden is not the conflict type president. He's not going to do well. This is going to be a problem. He don't know how to handle this type of situation. And so the mayor of Miami, Francis Suarez, said on Tuesday that the military options in Cuba should be considered. Cuban government launched a crackdown on protests after a large-scale demonstration erupted on Sunday. Have y'all seen the pictures and the videos? It's on my Instagram, TaylaAndre, everything TaylaAndre. Images on social media prompted Cuban Americans to take to the street in support of the protesters. Russia, China, and Iran on Tuesday issued statements warning the United States not to interfere in Cuban international affairs. Hundreds of Cuban Americans showed solidarity and blocked a majority of Miami highway on Tuesday. Anti-communist protests by Cuban Americans also have been seen in New York, DC, Texas, New Jersey, and we have some scragglers here in Boston as well. And so everyone is standing with Cuba. They want their freedom. Again, they were coaxed into, hijacked into all of this situation regarding where they are now. And you know what? I think I want to take this to the take this a little deeper because I know a little bit, but I want to try and I want to see if we can go ahead and bring the knowledge a little deeper. So we will be right back. We're going to end now, share on IGTV, all that great stuff. Wake up. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to call Uncle Timmy. Y'all can hear that? I wonder if it's calling. You know what we might have to do?
Please leave your message.
Uncle Timmy, you can hear me, right?
Yep.
Can you explain to me and to the viewers that are currently listening to you right now, what is going on in Cuba and why is this important to America?
Okay, so what is going on in Cuba right now is attempting to be a civil uprising. The Cuban people that aren't part of the government are tired of being deprived of medical supplies, deprived of food, money. They've been living a pretty tough life for the last year and a half, and they finally had enough. COVID is rampant down there, and the Cuban government has actually turned down offers of vaccines from outside the country, and potentially actually sold their first batch of vaccine to another country rather than give it to their own people. My people that I talk to all the time are in the province of Cuba called Matanzas, and they tell me that COVID is so bad in Matanzas right now that people won't go to the doctor's office because that's where most of them are getting COVID, is from traveling to the doctor's office. Why it's important to us, I believe, is I think we need to look at the results. Okay, here we are, 1959, there was a revolution, and that revolution, Fidel Castro promised the Cuban people that everybody would be treated equally, that there would be no rich and poor, everyone would have equal, everyone would be taken care of equally. Well, this is the end result of what happens when the government starts to nationalize wealth and businesses and tries to do all for everybody. They were doing okay when they were getting $6 billion a year from the former Soviet Union. But once that Soviet Union collapsed and that $6 billion a year disappeared, the government could not keep its promises to the people.
Okay, let me ask you a dumb question, right? So from what I understand of Cuba, everything still looks like the 70s because there's very little imports coming in, especially when it comes to America. Why hasn't Cuba created like its own industry, like the relationship that they have with China, the relationship that they have with Russia, and Iran is also on the side of like, America, you better not touch them. Why haven't they stepped in as far as like building a manufacturing plant so they can have vehicles or like?
Let's go backwards a little bit on that, okay? Like I said, Cuba for many years was dependent on income from the former Soviet Union and tourism. Cuba actually imports more than it can export. It imports the majority of its food. Poor management of farming lands and such has led to a good part of this problem. 2 years ago, I want to say, when I was there, getting eggs was difficult, not impossible, but difficult, because the island was actually producing well over 100,000 less eggs per day than it needed. So you had to go into the black market and you had to know people in order to get eggs. You couldn't get them at the government store. Remember that the Cuban government maintains the food supply, not private enterprise. The Cuban government maintains the infrastructure, not private enterprise.
So it would be illegal for me to be a Cuban with a chicken?
Not illegal for you to be a Cuban with a chicken if you're keeping the eggs to yourself.
I just couldn't sell them for profit.
Correct.
Damn, can I share with my neighbors?
You can share with your neighbors if you want, but if one of your neighbors complains that you're sharing with your other neighbors and not him, then the government's going to come down and tell you you need to share with him too.
Okay, yeah, this is why communism is not for me.
No. Remember raising your, well, I don't know if your son and daughter would have done this, but picture raising a bunch of kids and one of them thinks another one got something that they should have gotten too but didn't, and how they run to mommy and daddy and say that's not fair.
That's
exactly how the Cuban government has raised its citizens.
And so you got a whole bunch of snitches because you have something that I don't have.
The thing that's often said, and I've seen it and experienced it, if you put, you haven't met a Cuban, somebody that immigrated from the island?
I have not.
Okay, so one thing, the first thing you'll notice about them when you first meet them is they're very reserved. They don't say much. You don't get the inside view of what they're thinking, because Cubans are taught from birth that if 4 Cubans are together having a conversation, one of those Cubans works for the government and one of those Cubans is a snitch for the government. So unless you know the 4 people you're talking to, you don't trust
anybody. Nobody. I thank you so much for that insight, because we were over here talking about the situation and how it was recently said that the Miami mayor said that they need to go ahead and take an airstrike on Cuba and Iran and China, and Russia was just like, don't even think about it.
They're mischaracterizing his words. If you watch the entire press conference, he said everything needs to be on the table. The American government needs to look at all options, and he actually asked for food supplies and medicine, and said, but we may also need to consider military intervention as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm. This is absolutely insane. Just know that we will be calling on you more often.
Just to give you a little insight of what it's a day in the life of a Cuban. All right, the average Cuban gets about $20 a month.
I told y'all.
Okay, that's his salary. Okay, if he can find pork to buy, pork is around $1 a pound. If he can find chicken to buy, chicken is around $1 a pound. Eggs cannot be found. Now tell me, what do you make for a meal each day?
Most likely rice.
Rice, yeah, rice and whatever vegetables you can gather. So that's about the extent. Now the government does give some things as ration. So milk is a ration item. If you have any children in your house 7 years or younger, the government gives you milk for free. But once that youngest child turns 7, you have to start paying for your milk.
Mm-hmm.
They give each family 1 liter of cooking oil per month. You have to bring your own liter bottle. Your rationed rice, your rationed sugar per person per month. Okay? And how you make up the difference between what the government rations you and what you need comes out of that $20.
So $20 a month is what you get. Pork is a pound, chicken is a pound, eggs can't be found, and if you don't have a 7-year-old, you don't have no milk. So you ain't finna eat cereal, and you are like picking berries and nuts off of trees.
They have no idea what cereal is.
So when you went to Cuba, when you go to Cuba, what do you eat?
You normally will find a way to get that. The pastor will find us eggs. So we'll have maybe eggs for breakfast and Cuban bread. Now the Cuban bread that Americans are used to, you can get that paid for at a bakery. That's not the loaf of bread the government rations daily. The loaf of bread the government rations daily is about the size of a hamburger bun.
Per person or per family?
Per person. However, there's no guarantee that the bakery will have the supplies to make enough to supply everybody that they're supposed to supply. So people get in line 2 hours before the bakery opens and wait to hopefully get their food, family's ration of bread for that day.
Mm-hmm. And it's sort of like the early bird gets the worm, because you might be asked out if you don't get there early enough.
Exactly. I know people that have waited over 2 hours in line and went home empty-handed.
Well, Janet said, thank you. She called you Uncle Tony, but this is Uncle Timmy. And Uncle Timmy is we going to call on Uncle Timmy for a lot of things, because anything politic, he know, anything history, he know, anything, everything, he's in the know.
Well, right now I'm getting a lot of my information because I have friends in Cuba who have figured out how to get around, because the internet and the phone systems are shut down right now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And a good part of the island, they've actually shut the electricity off.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We were talking about that yesterday. Thank you, Uncle Timmy. We love you.
Love you too. You guys take care.
And he will be back. That is Uncle Timmy. He ain't going nowhere. We're going to keep him in the know. Well, keep him so he can keep us in the know. As far as other news you should know, there's George Bush calls for Afghanistan troops to withdraw. He said it's a mistake and warned civilians are being left to be slaughtered by the brutal Taliban. Former President George W. Bush warned that Afghan women and girls will suffer. He told German broadcaster that the withdrawal breaks my heart. The former Republican president sent the troops to Afghanistan in the fall of 2001. U.S. troops are due to completely pull out of the country on September 11th, 2021. Listen, y'all know I'm a conspiracy theorist. I want you to pay attention to the numerical numbers of these days. Now, I am not a numerologist. I just want you to be mindful of the days and the numbers, okay? And so we went in the fall of 2021. All troops will be pulled out by September 11th, 2021. I think that was the worst effing day that they could have chose. The Taliban has already started to snap up territory across the countryside. President Joe Biden has faced intense criticism for finalizing the withdrawal, and people are scared. And this was another reason talking about Biden does not do well with controversy, and he don't know how to handle this. Mayor said, why can't Haitians touch soil and they be okay when they do? Why can't Haitians touch soil and be okay, but when they do, they're good? Oh, you're talking about when Cubans come to and what Mayor's talking about is what we were talking about earlier. If you can stand up in water, then you're good. Like, you're in America, we can't touch you. You here. But if Haitians, and that is absolutely true, if you are from Haiti and you can stand up in water, your ass get sent back to Haiti. And so, yeah. He said, Bush can shut up. He started this shit. You right. When you right, you right. I ain't finna argue with you when you right. Mayor, you should have just been here and sat next to me. That's what you shouldn't have left, Mayor. The Senate Democrats scored a lone. Chuck Schumer and Bernie Sanders reached a $3.5 trillion infrastructure bill and greenlight the reconciliation to bypass the GOP filibuster, despite fears that it will fuel rampant inflation. We don't know what's going to happen, but I was reading stories yesterday on real estate. If you know anybody who's looking to sell a house, please have them call me, 617-459-0041. Who do you know that knows somebody who knows somebody who's about to sell a house? I want to buy it. Please tell them to call me, 617-459-0041. Mayor said, we were there long enough. It's time for the military to get their ish straight and to leave. It absolutely is. Next time you're going to sit in, you're going to come talk with me. Come and talk to me. I can see you and Mayor have a good convo. Me too. $3.5 trillion in infrastructure. And so we have had this conversation so many times when it comes to the infrastructure, when it comes to transportation here in the United States. When we look at anywhere outside of the United States, they are traveling on hyper bullets and super speeds and doing things that we have yet to even imagine. We still have a damn green line that don't even work properly. We still have an orange line that old as F, AF, and a red line that need to be torn all the way down. Like the rails in itself, the bridges in itself, all of it need to be torn all the way to F down. And when we take a look at other countries, when you look at our infrastructure, our streets, no matter how much taxes you pay, your road there's no reason why my shocks should be the way that they are, especially with these Boston effing potholes. $3.5 trillion in infrastructure sounds amazing, but the allocation of this is not going to fare thee well at all. And so, as we know, as far as the Secretary of Labor is concerned, Mayor Marty Walsh didn't do much of anything when he was here as mayor, as far as the allocation of funds properly, diversely being dispersed. So I do not, unfortunately, see this being dispersed well, $3.5 trillion. And so just want to throw that out there. We are coming, damn, it's 12:45. I'm sad because I have so much more to talk about. Medicare is set to decide whether it should pay for their new controversial Alzheimer's drug that costs patients $56,000 a year. So the fact that this is even a conversation, first and foremost, this was the new drug that came out, the new Alzheimer's drug that came out that talks about like revamping the brain cells. And this is like cutting edge. It's the first time in 30 years that they came out with a medication for Alzheimer's, and it costs people $56,000 a year. And they're trying to figure out whether or not Medicare is going to pay for it. There's nothing else to talk about. There's nothing else to talk about. Apple's weather app, I thought this was funny. This is just a weird thing, a weird fact to know. Apple's weather app never says 69 degrees. It will never be 69 degrees on Apple's weather app. They always try and round up to 70. The app will also appear to have issues showing readings of 65 or 71 degrees. It's unclear whether or not it's deliberate or just rounding, but given the Apple sources, the data from weather.com, which shows the proper temperature, they have no idea why Apple refuses to do 69. Even if it's 69, they will make it 70. Yet they round down because they can't do 71 or 65. Weird fun facts that you should know that nobody really cares about. Professor Cornel West, we talked about this a little bit yesterday, but Professor Cornel West dramatically, no, it wasn't dramatic. It was absolutely what needed to happen. Resigned from Harvard after being denied tenure, and says that the shadow of Jim Crow in the form of superficial diversity persists at the Ivy League school. He publicly shared his resignation letter on Monday evening, claiming he was denied tenure due to anti-Palestinian prejudice at Harvard. The accused the university of spirit rot and said it pursued superficial diversity. West is a well-known publicly intellectual focused on civil rights and racial issues. He also quit Harvard in 2002 over disputes with the former university president. And as we know, because they don't do 69s. Man, you're so stupid. Do what you got to do, Cornell. And if anybody who knows Cornell, please, I've been hitting his inbox for the last 5 years, still trying to get an interview. So if you know somebody who knows somebody, tell them to call me. 617-459-0041. Moderna launches, listen, Linda. Listen, Linda, to the words that are about to come out of my mouth. Moderna launches clinical trial testing whether COVID-19 vaccine leads to miscarriages and stillbirths in pregnant women or birth defects in newborns, despite thousands of mothers to have receiving the shot. So you gonna go ahead and do this. I would love it too. Let's co-create, Mayor. Let's co-create that to happen, because I would really love to have a conversation with him. Zion, why are you telling me things I already know? I am already aware that most of my tax money goes to war in rich people's pockets and not the streets in which they're supposed to be paved. I'm fully aware of this. It annoys the hell out of me. I speak on a regular basis. If you pay any taxes, if you come out of your pocket and get a check and your check is 1/3 of the way gone because of taxes, you absolutely should be politically involved, and your voice should be so fucking loud that nobody wants to hear you anymore. That nobody wants to hear your voice because you talk too damn much about how your tax paying dollars is going to waste. Y'all better come out here with the confidence of a middle-aged white man about your tax dollars. when it comes to these politicians. But yo, Moderna is finally launching. Why y'all couldn't do this clinical trial before y'all gave the shot to pregnant women? All this time, like on the back of labels, there's certain teas that you can't drink. Cigarettes, don't drink if you're pregnant. Don't smoke if you're pregnant. Don't drink this tea if you're pregnant. Like, but you gonna give a shot to a pregnant person and you don't even know the side effects? And people think I'm crazy when I was just like, yo, they're willing to give it to everybody. Hey, shout out to the UK. Is it Ayeli? Ayel? Good afternoon. I'm really excited. Hey, UK. But Moderna launches its clinical trial. Pregnant women are more likely to suffer from negative outcomes from COVID-19. Other studies are being conducted to determine how effective the COVID-19 vaccine are for pregnant women. I want to know who are the pregnant women that are like, yes, I will put my child in harm's way. Certainly. Do a study on me. Like, who are these women? And did they get consent from the daddy? Because listen, as a father, had I had a penis and I fathered children, your ass is you're not going to go for a trial. It's my body, my right. Well, that's my child. And whatever you put in your body for your child, our child, my child affects me as well. And so I'm being really selfish here. I'm thinking about high school. And remember when you had to do the dilemma papers where you had to like, what would you do if your child was a paraplegic and there was a new drug that came out that would put your child out of their misery? They can't walk, they can't talk, they can't run, they can't play. I was that parent. I was like, yo, hell, I'm putting my child out their misery. Absolutely. You can't even live life. You can't even Stephen Hawkins out here. I have questions. Do we have money to Stephen Hawkins, a fake voice? No, we don't have. Nope. I'm putting my child out here effing misery. Absolutely. We're going to have a conversation about this. I'm not going to do it without your consent. But if you blink 2 times, baby, you finna get this drug. So I'm thinking about this from like a dilemma type situation. What do you do when you put yourself in harm's way? You go in for the study, you get the shot, and now your child comes out deformed. Whether regardless of what the deformity is, how do you live your life as a parent after that? The child can't properly learn. The child can't properly walk. How do you as a parent live the rest of your life with that? The whole dilemma situation. What would you do? I wouldn't have got the damn shot. And if we got COVID, we got COVID. God bless us. We might need some Haitian remedies because they ain't got a shot yet and they got the lowest COVID and the lowest deaths. What are they doing right? And let's best practices for me. For me, it's the best practices. What is going on in Haiti? What are they doing in Haiti that they do have the lowest rates and they do have the lowest deaths? And let's do that. Because they ain't got a shot yet. The former UN, we already read the story about the crazy lady who wants to ban ridiculousness of actually learning about critical race theory. Democrat New York mayoral candidate Eric Adams, I love this story, said that he wants more dyslexic screening to combat the city's soaring gun crime. So I'm here for the comments, and when I read the comments, people were like, yo, this is the stupidest article I've ever read. The mayor's dumb, that monkey of an NIGGA, like all this ignorant stuff. But when you think about it and when you actually do the knowledge, a lot of children that end up in crime and a lot of children that end up dropping out of school drop out of school because they can't keep up with the classwork. A lot of the reasons due to Jane Elliott. Remember, we brought Jane Elliott to Boston, had a whole conversation with Jane Elliott. Not only her, we also had an interview with Decoding Dyslexia, learning that up to 40% of Americans are dyslexic. Up to 40% of Americans are dyslexic. And if you're like me, you learn how to manage your dyslexia versus there's many people out here that have not been able to manage their dyslexia, or maybe they have severe dyslexia and they're unable to read. Jane Elliott said a lot of things that people don't understand is when you get into a car accident, if you're dyslexic, you meant to take a left, but you actually went right. That's a form of dyslexia. A lot of car accident type situations because of dyslexia. what was the other thing that she mentioned as far as like real world examples of how adults with dyslexia show up in the world and are not only harmful to themselves but others? It's yield is the pronunciation. Yield or yield. I will get it right and I will say your name correctly. So the reason why this story excites me and that I love this story is because finally we're having a conversation. Little black boys don't want to be stupid. Little black boys don't want to be neglected. Little black boys don't want to sit in the back of the room, nor do they want to go into the room with only 4 people in the class at the SPED level. That's not what they want to do. They do want to learn, but how about we start teaching the way that they learn? And if we start figuring out, and we've had this conversation with some of the mayoral candidates here when it comes to education as far as dyslexia is concerned and whether or not they would implement that into our school system. Many of them were like, oh, I have to look into that, which really means no. But for New York, mayoral candidate Eric Adams to say that he wants more dyslexia screening to combat the city's soaring gun crime. I absolutely love this. And people were like so confused with why. But if we figure out that you're dyslexic and we can now help you learn based on knowing that your IEP isn't because you're dumb. Your IEP isn't because you can't read. Your IEP is because the words and the letters and the numbers get all jumbled up. We can help you. You're going to want to stay in school. You're going to want to learn. You're not going to go out into the streets and be the cause of chaos. And so shout out to Eric Adams. I'm trying to get him in the building as well. So if y'all can help with that, I'd appreciate that one as well. Engagement ring sales have skyrocketed by 20% since 2019 as COVID has prompted people to want to get married. Now, y'all was bored. Y'all were bored. We gonna see divorce rates. No, but I'm really excited because we saw a 36% increase of 2-parent households. And remember, we read that story about 3 weeks ago. And that makes my soul so happy because the most amazing thing in the world is a Black family. And so we are seeing, so if the number across the board has increased by 36%, you know that the Black family has also increased. And so I am excited. I'm excited. I love it. You better get married. No, I'm good. Amazon has acquired Facebook's satellite internet team. The race to develop satellite internet includes some pretty big players like SpaceX, Amazon, SoftBank, and Facebook. However, Facebook has now essentially thrown in the towel in the business, selling its internet satellite team to Amazon. The information for Amazon is a significant step in its efforts to develop its project. I know how to say this because it's the Kuiper belt, the Kuiper satellite network, and catch up with the SpaceX. Okay, transparency. Anybody watch Storybots? Listen, Storybots breaks. If Storybots was available when I was a kid, I would have a couple PhDs right now. The way Storybots breaks down difficult conversations to 30-minute aha moments is insane. The only reason why I know how to pronounce the Kuiper is because they talk about the Kuiper belt when they were talking about the forming of planets and what's a planet, and they had Pluto like planets. I was a planet once. Now I'm out here in the Kuiper belt with the rest of the exoplanets, and I feel kind of smart because I even know that now. But Project Kuiper satellite network catch up with SpaceX Starlink broadband constellation. Like Starlink, the Project Kuiper is designed to provide low latency, high speed broadband connectivity to users around the world. Amazon aims to have 3,236 satellite constellations in orbit by 2029, with half of it launched by 2026. It also plans to build 12 ground stations around the world to transmit data to and from the satellites. Now, remember, we had the whole conversation about how Amazon was trying to have an open network so that people could, like, I could tap into Christian and Christian could tap into me, and we would all be like, if my internet's down, I could tap into Christian's internet, and if Christian's internet's down, he could tap into my internet, and you had to go into Amazon in order to shut that feature down, or all your stuff was going to be out in the open. It is 1 o'clock and I have so much more to say. And we didn't even get to the confidence versus cockiness part of the show. And so I thank you. I love you. I appreciate you. I hope you guys have an amazing day. Ariel. That is it. Ariel. I hope I said that correctly. People having a whole load of kids here in Britain during the plague. Why do I like the way he spelled plague, though? Glad you told me about that. Definitely passing that along. Hey, yo, if you have kids or grandkids, I'm going to just be honest. I be watching Storybots when Baby Rain ain't home, okay? I'm waiting for season 3. No, they have 3 seasons. I'm waiting for season 4. I have tweeted the creators of Storybots, like, yo, when season 4 dropping, B? Because Storybots is one of the most amazing shows ever. It's on Netflix. Please go watch an episode, or really quickly look it up on YouTube and hit me up, TaylaAndre. Hey, Tristan! Yo, I would love for a Saucy and Friends Rising show to do a merge with Wake Up with TaylaAndre. That would be a dope show. And so I thank you. I love you. I appreciate you. We gonna get off so James can log on. I hope you guys have an amazing day. If you need anything, TaylaAndre. If you know somebody who is looking to sell their house, please give them my home number, my own cell phone number, 617-459-0041. I need a Boston-based house. Who do you know? I don't want nothing that's on the market. I'm a real estate agent. I can look on MLS. I want something that's not already on the market. Have them call me. Tell your grandma we could be roommates. Mwah. I know they like Tayla crazy. She's trying to be roommates with my grandma. I sure am though. Christian, you have fun today?
Yeah.
Your voice is deep as hell. I'm gonna be talking shit too. As long as you the intern, I'm gonna be talking shit. I just want to tell you that. When you leave from here so that we can have the door locked up. But when you,
it's so good. I got used to people talking on my voice.
Yo, women's gonna love it in the future though.
All right, girl.
You're too young for that right now. But when you get older, they gonna love it.
Well.
Tristan, what happened to the other intern?
Dave, which one?
The young lady that was supposed to come.
I don't know. I guess she got lost. Where's she from?
She said she's from Michigan.
No, what country?
Oh, she's from Somalia.
Yeah, she got lost.
She gave up.
Yeah, she basically gave up.
She was like, yeah, this ain't gonna work out for me today. I'm going home. Oh,
I was like, oh man. But yeah, I don't know. So I'm just gonna make sure that I touch base with her when we figure out what the timing and stuff.
Okay.
We're also gonna meet with her to just discuss if that wasn't professional. And then let's
She gave me a call and tried to at least show that she's,
Shakari better take that money, little dabbing pen.
Thank you, Tatiana. I'm giving you a ride, right?
Yeah.
Their program is really dope, Tayla.
Thank
is your son
you.
Working? Is your son working for the summer?
Oh, the one that I sent you, the summer program on?
Is your son working?
I'm not already doing what or not. That's not my business.
Huh?
That's not my business.
If what?
Whatever he's doing.
Oh.
I don't have capacity for that headache right now.
How old is your son?
18.
Listen, they got a program. I'm about to take my godson and put them in that same program that these kids are in.
I have signed Inari up for programs all the days of his life, and he's tired of me.
He just doesn't like them?
No, he's just like, you've been doing this my whole life. It's time for me to do my own thing.
Is he doing his own thing?
I don't know what the hell he's doing.
Come on, Dad. You need to know what he's doing. You know what he's doing.
I don't know what he's doing. I'm gonna let the man be a man. I'm gonna let him figure out his life.
Listen, my godson, fuck that. I ain't letting him do shit. Fuck, I tell you to do. How about that?
Did Christian leave already?
Yes, he did.
Okay, perfect.
Have a good day.
It's on the back hand side. I'll go this one.
Okay. Thank you.
Have a good day. Nice to meet you. Yes. Thank you for understanding. I really didn't know how to word it because I didn't want to sound disrespectful, but I wanted to be honest at the same time. You already know I don't like diamonds. Stop wasting your money on diamonds and start looking at different gemstones that you actually appreciate that are worth more than scrap ass glass. Oh, this bitch is beautiful. Hell yeah. Oh, that was amazing. Can I keep this? How do you keep this thing? What up, boo? You're all the way on like Norton, right? Norfolk? Northampton. Oh, hey.